When you stopped being my wife. My wife Cynthia could have been the poster girl for all the overachievers of the world. In high school, college, and in the business world, Cyn just had to be at the top of the heap, or life wasn't worth living. She was successful in the first three areas and is working hard to make it in business. Cyn is the highest-earning sales rep in her company. Her goal is to remain a leader until she becomes vice president of sales and then CEO of the company. Cyn's territory covers most of the tri-state area, so she goes on 2- and 3-day business trips several times a month. I'm not too happy about it, but I live with it as best I can. I figure it's the price I have to pay for having Cynthia at all. The fact that I have her is a miracle, at least for me. I am the complete opposite of her. Where she's gorgeous, I'm a little more humble. Where she's a tenacious achiever, I'm the original go-with-the-flow guy. And where she was a smartass, I'm the quintessential jock. We met at a frat party in college, and I think we just stayed together after that. We don't need the money that Cynthia is so obsessed with, but she always tells me that money isn't important. It's just a way to keep score, the number of points needed to get to the next step in her quest to become CEO. This is another trait that sets us apart. She works hard to succeed, and I became successful through sheer luck. My brother started a .com company, talked me into investing, and then told me when to get out. I made a decent amount of money on that deal and used some of it to buy a small machine shop that made parts for the aerospace industry. One day I was watching a machinist at work and suggested he do it differently. He listened and then suggested I get a patent on the idea. I did, and the money flowed in a river. We had more than enough money for Cynthia to get whatever her heart desired. But Cyn's heart desired to be the general manager. I got a call from a good friend who had been a fraternity brother in college. He ran a plant near Kansas City and wanted to flip some business to me. Cynthia was on a business trip to Denver, and I had nothing to do, so I got on a plane and went to Ron's place. He met my flight, and we went to look around his plant. He showed me what he needed, I told him we could do it, we signed a contract, and then we went to dinner at a popular steakhouse. The restaurant was next to the bar, and they were separated by a wall that had several glass windows in it. We had just had time to order when loud laughter erupted from the bar, and I dropped my jaw as I glanced in that direction. Cynthia was sitting at a table with 7 men and another white woman. Ron noticed the look on my face and turned to see where I was looking. "She's something, isn't she?" "Do you know her?" "No, but I wish I did. Problem is, I'm out of her league." "And what does that mean?" "I see her here once or twice a month, always with a crowd of men, and when she leaves, there are always 5 or 6 men with her. They say she's the queen of sex. They say she's married to some rich guy and pretends to go on business trips to meet her lovers. How would you like to be married to such a cheating woman?" Indeed, I thought. Indeed. I had a lot to think about on the flight home. I found it hard to believe that Cynthia was cheating on me, let alone having sex with other guys. I had nothing but rumors from Ron, but there was also the fact that Cyn was supposed to be in Denver, that she was at a bar with a bunch of guys, and that she'd left with 6 of them. Of course, there could have been a perfectly reasonable explanation for that. Denver is only a short drive from Kansas City, and her plans could have changed, but as far as I knew, Kansas City wasn't part of her territory. Of course, things could have changed, and she could have even mentioned it to me, and I just missed it. And nothing prohibits you from having black clients or socializing with them. After all, isn't that what I was doing with Ron? No, Cyn had to have a legitimate reason for being there. A day later, Cyn returned home. "How was the trip?" "Exhausting. It was great from a sales standpoint, but trying to convince a bunch of knuckleheads to buy from you what they already need gets tiresome after a while." "Have you eaten yet?" "No, but that's not what I really want. I've been gone for 3 days, 3 days without sex. Take me to bed, baby, and let's make love." No, Ron had to be wrong. Funny thing about human nature. Even if you just know that you know, once doubt sets in, it grows and grows until you find that you absolutely need to know for sure. Cyn's need for sex exhausted me that night, but no matter how exhausted she made me, I still couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, staring at the walls and ceiling, and imagining Sin lying naked on the bed having sex with a bunch of men. That morning at breakfast, I casually asked Sin if Kansas City was her territory. I saw the alarm in her eyes, and then she replied, "No, Kansas City belongs to Dave. Why?" Just a thought. I need to fly down on business, and I thought if it was your territory, we could go together. Well, I'd like to go because I've never been to Kansas City, but it's not mine. I sat there looking at her, thinking about what a lawyer friend once told me. Never ask a question you don't already know the answer to, and never ask a question you don't want to know the answer to. He handed me a cardboard box and a bill, and I wrote him a check for his services. He folded the check and put it away, then said, "Excuse me. Every now and then I go on a wild goose chase, and I'd really like this to be one of them. No more than I do, Mr. Spaulding. No more than I do." The detective left, and I sat staring at the box that held a month's worth of things I really didn't want to know about. He'd followed Sin to Salt Lake City, Denver, Dallas-Fort Worth, and Kansas City. He bribed porters, captains, maids, and waiters to gain access to Cynthia's hotel rooms, where he set up mini cameras and microphones all in a box on my desk. I told my secretary I was off for the day and headed home. Cynthia was in Dallas and Fort Worth, and the house was at my disposal. I made myself a stiff drink, sat down on the couch, and started watching tapes. I watched Sin having sex on her last trip to Dallas. She only had 6 men in Kansas City, but she kept them busy for hours. In Denver, her hotel room was pretty crowded with 11 men, all trying to find a place to sit or stand while they waited for her to get to them. Salt Lake City hardly pleased her, and I'm sure she was disappointed. There were only 3 men there, but I suppose that's not too surprising considering the small number of them in Utah. But what they lacked in numbers, they more than made up for in enthusiasm. When I went to bed that night, I didn't know what to think, what to do, or where to go next. When I got home from work the next day, Cynthia was already home from her last trip. She was waiting for me in high heels and a black see-through nightgown. "I almost called you to ask you to come home early. God, I missed you so much. I need you, baby. Need you right now." "Why?" "Why? What makes me so special that you miss me so much when you're gone, get excited at the thought of me, and crave me as soon as you get home?" "It's called love, baby. Pure, absolute love for you with no impurities." "Forgive me if I find that a little hard to believe." "What, baby? What's the matter?" "Nothing much, Sin. I was just wondering when you stopped being my wife and turned into a cheater." "What are you talking about?" "Go into the living room, Cynthia. Look at the tape that's in the VCR and try to guess." Leaving her standing still, I went to the bar and made myself a stiff drink, then went into my office and slammed the door behind me. An hour later, Sin came in and sat down on the couch. "Where did you get these?" "From a very expensive private investigator." "Why?" "Because my trip to Kansas City had already taken place when I asked you if it was your territory, and while I was there I saw you in a bar with your herd of men, but you told me you'd never been to Kansas City. That made me wonder about you, but now I don't have to wonder about you anymore." "What made you wonder if I was no longer your wife?" "Wives, at least good ones, don't do to their husbands what you did to me." "Nonsense. I haven't done anything to you. We've been married for 6 years. I've been loving and affectionate, and I've never given you a reason not to be happy with me. Can you name one thing, in those 6 years that has shown me not to be a loving and devoted wife? No, you can't. And yet what you saw on those tapes went on for all those 6 years. It was happening when I met you, and it continued throughout our courtship. Do I do it here where it might come up and embarrass you? No, I don't, and I never will. I can't help it that I'm obsessed with a lot of guys. To me, it's as addictive as drugs, and if I go without it for a long time, I go crazy. It's been that way since high school, and it satisfies a need in me that I can't satisfy any other way. But it has never, not once, interfered with my feelings for you. and it hasn't cost you anything, except in terms of ego. You still get as much sex as you can handle, so you haven't lost anything. I give you so much love and affection that sometimes you even push me away, so you haven't lost anything. So tell me, what did it cost you to do what I did? How can I look at you anymore after you begged another man to get you pregnant? I don't stand a chance of getting another man pregnant. I always make sure it's the wrong time of the month and that I always have my diaphragm with me. I say this because it turns them on. I say what I do to stroke their ego and energize them. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't change the fact that you're a cheater. Cynthia looked me straight in the eye and said, "Yes, I am a cheater. But I'm also the best girlfriend you've ever had and the best thing that's ever happened to you. I also have to say that you are the best thing that has ever happened to me. If you want something that shouldn't matter in the slightest to get in the way of my love for you, I can't stop you. But you should know that I'm not going to beg you to forgive me for doing something that only hurt your ego. I'm not going to say I'm sorry and promise to never do it again, because I will. There's an old saying that half a loaf is better than none. You have 98% of a loaf, and that's more than most men have in a lifetime. I love you and I want to be with you forever. You just have to decide if you want to be with me." Cynthia had just become vice president of sales and was now within sight of her goal of becoming CEO. I'm comfortable with what she's doing. I'm sticking to the principle of out of sight, out of heart, and it seems to be working, at least for now. I have no desire to watch her relationships with other men, nor do I have any desire to hear about it when she comes home. I'm not going to pretend that when she comes home, I don't think about what she did while she was gone. I'm just content that she's with me and that she seems to want to be around. But I worry. I worry a lot. The end. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you.